The world's greatest Michael Jordan, highlight reel, when greatness stops feeling human. Even after all these years, there is something strange about watching Michael Jordan highlights. You expect them to feel old, outdated, or at least familiar by now. But somehow, they dawn tea. Every clip still hits with the same force it did decades ago, sometimes even harder. It is almost unsettling. You look at him glide through the air, twist his body around defenders, switch hands mid-flight like he is editing reality, and you think, this shouldn't be possible. Not back then, not now, not ever. Yet he did it so casually that people started believing he wasn't just the greatest, he was something else entirely. And maybe that's why his highlight reel has become more than a collection of plays. It's a window into a myth that keeps growing instead of fading. Most legends shrink with time. The stories get blurry, the moments lose their edge. New stars arrive and take the spotlight. But Jordan, he somehow becomes bigger every year. Every time a new angle, a new clip, or a forgotten moment resurfaces, the internet stops. GOAT debates restart. Fans who never watched him live become obsessed. People who swore they'd moved on suddenly find themselves rewatching the same 12-second clip for the 20th time. There's just something about him that refuses to get old. Maybe it's the way he moved, like he had discovered a hidden setting in basketball physics. Maybe it's the expression on his face in every play. Calm, locked in, almost cold, like he was reading a script only he had access to. Or maybe it's because his highlights aren't just athletic, they are cinematic. Every dunk looks like a poster. Every layup looks choreographed. Every jumper feels like a final scene with everything on the line, even when it was just a regular season game in December. And the strangest part? He made the extraordinary look routine, floating for an extra second, hanging in the air long enough to change his mind mid-shot, exploding past defenders who already knew what he was going to do and still couldn't stop it. He kept breaking expectations so often that eventually people stopped questioning how. They just accepted it. Jordan did things you weren't supposed to do, and somehow he made it feel normal. But behind those highlights, behind the hang time, behind the shrug, behind the last shot, there's a deeper story. A story of moments so unreal, so perfectly timed, they turned an athlete into a global myth. And this is the reel that built that legend. Section 1, the first glimpse of something unreal. Before the world started calling him the greatest, Michael Jordan was just an 18-year-old kid at North Carolina, skinny, quiet, not even the best player on his own college team. But something strange happened the moment he touched the ball. Coaches noticed it instantly. The confidence, the poise, the way he attacked the rim like he already knew how the defender would react. It wasn't normal freshman behavior. Dean Smith later said, "We didn't teach that, he came with it." And that gift showed itself in the biggest way possible. In the 1982 NCAA championships, with the entire country watching, UNC was down by 1. Everyone thought the final play was drawn up for the star upperclassmen. It wasn't tea. The ball found Jordan in the corner, a freshman with no business taking the biggest shot of the season. He didn't flinch, no hesitation, no nerves, just a smooth release that floated through the air like it already knew where it was going. Swish. Game winner, title secured. And the moment it dropped, the entire UNC bench didn't just celebrate, they looked shocked. As if they realized something in real time. This wasn't just a talented kid. This was the beginning of a problem for everyone else. But the real warning sign came the next year, when he entered the NBA. Rookie seasons are usually messy, filled with turnovers and learning curves. Jordan S looked like a highlight compilation. The game was faster, the players were stronger, yet somehow he made everything look easier. He cut through defenses like they were still in college. His hang time wasn't just long, it felt exaggerated, like he paused in midair to make choices. Veterans who had been in the league for a decade were whispering to each other in disbelief. It was that hype. It was isaiti potential. It was the first undeniable glimpse that the league had accidentally let a future myth walk through its doors. Section 2. When the world realized he was different. The moment everything changed didn't happen in Chicago. It happened in Boston against one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The 1986 Celtics were a monster. Bird, McHale, Parrish. One of the most stacked squads the league had ever seen. Jordan was supposed to be a footnote, a talented young guard returning from a broken foot. He wasn't even fully healed. Chicago barely made the playoffs. Nobody expected anything. Then Game 2 happened. Jordan walked into the Boston Garden and delivered the kind of performance that doesn't just put you on the map. It redraws the entire map around you. 63 points, most of them against double teams, some against triple teams. Every possession felt like a test. The Celtics were sure he'd eventually fail, but he didn't. He dual glide into the lane, twist his body, hang in the air for what felt like an extra heartbeat, and flip the ball in as if physics wasn't a part of the equation. The Boston crowd, famous for being ruthless, didn't boo. They stared. They clapped. They understood they were witnessing something that didn't make sense. Larry Bird summed it up with a line that still echoes through basketball history. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. That wasn't exaggeration. That was respect, fear, and disbelief rolled into one sentence. And while the world tried to process that performance, Jordan casually kept building on it. The dunk contest became a yearly spectacle free throw line. Dunks, cradles, windmills, moves no one else dared to attempt. It wasn't just athleticism. It was showmanship, wrapped in pure power. His hang time became mythical. People joked that he didn't jump higher, he just stayed in the air longer than everyone else. The league had seen stars before, but this was something entirely new. And the craziest part? Jordan hadn't even shown the ruthless side of his mentality yet. Section 3. The mind games that broke players. Before tip-off. Jordan's athleticism was terrifying, but the real weapon, the one that turned grown men into nervous wrecks, was his mind. He didn't just want to beat you. He wanted to get inside your head, rearrange the furniture, and make you doubt your own talent. And he did it with a level of psychological precision that felt almost unfair. He did do things that didn't show up on the highlight reel, but destroyed opponents in ways the scoreboard couldn't measure. Like the time he walked past an opposing player before a game and quietly said, "Lace 'em tight, that as it." No threat, no trash, just a soft reminder that something painful was coming. The player later admitted he was rattled for the entire first half. Jordan didn't even need you to actually disrespect him. He would invent reasons to go after you. When LaBradford Smith had one good game against him, Jordan claimed Smith said, "Nice game, Mike." Smith never said it. Jordan made it up. Next game, Jordan dropped 36 in the first half. That was the kind of psychological warfare he operated with. He created villains just so he could destroy them. And when someone did talk, the results were even worse. At an off-season camp, a young O.J. Mayo started chirping at a 40-something Jordan, thinking age would protect him. Jordan took him to a private court, locked the doors, and spent the next session dismantling him one possession at a time. Mayo later said it felt like going up against a ghost with a point to prove. Even established stars weren't safe. Reggie Miller once poked at him during a preseason game. Bad idea. Jordan unleashed a storm and then stared him down with the now famous line, "Don T ever talk trash to Black Jesus?" It was mind control disguised as competition. a psychological blueprint no one else has ever replicated. And after he was done breaking your confidence, he'd break your defense next. Section 4. The plays that shouldn't be physically possible. Once Jordan had you mentally cracked, the real nightmare began, the moments where his body did things that didn't line up with logic. These weren't just highlights. They were glitches in basketball physics that made entire arenas gasp before remembering to breathe. Take the switch hands layup in the 1991 finals. People still replay it like a magic trick. He drove past Sam Perkins, rose toward the rim, saw the Lakers collapsing, and changed his entire plan midair. Most players adjust by shifting their angle. Jordan adjusted by switching the ball from his right hand to his left, while still floating. It wasn't just improvisation. It was like he had an extra second of hang time stored somewhere. Even his teammates couldn't explain it. Scottie Pippen said, he was up there so long, he could have waved at the crowd. Then there was the shrug game. Game 1 of the '92 finals. Jordan wasn't ETA known for taking tons of threes, yet he hit 6 of them in the first half alone. On the 6th one, he jogged back down the court, looked at the broadcast table, and shrugged. Not cocky, almost confused, as if even he didn't understand why everything he touched was turning into a bucket. That single moment became an immortal highlight, not just because of the shot, but because of the expression, pure disbelief wrapped inside total dominance. And the double clutch dunks? Those were something else entirely. He'd take off, hang, bring the ball down, bring it back up, and slam it with an authority that made defenders look like statues. The slow motion replays never helped. They only made the hang time look even more unreal. Broadcasters didn't have vocabulary for what they were seeing. These weren't isolated plays. They were reminders that Jordan wasn't just playing basketball, he was bending it. And the wildest part? His most iconic moments weren't even about showmanship. They were about pressure, stakes, and impossible timing. Section 5. When everything was on the line, he became inevitable. Jordan's highlights were unbelievable, but his clutch moments were something else entirely. They felt scripted even though everyone knew they were in T. When the game got tight, the energy in the arena shifted. Fans leaned forward. Defenders got nervous. Teammates stopped breathing for a second because everyone understood the same thing. If it was close, Jordan was going to take over. Start with the shot in 1989. Cleveland had the better team. They had the home crowd. They had the series lead. All they needed was one stop. Jordan received the inbound pass, took 2 dribbles, elevated and hung. Craig Elo flew by. Jordan waited in midair, released the ball at the peak of his hang time, and buried the shot that would define a generation. The fist pump afterward wasn't celebration, it was declaration. The league had a new closer. Then came the flu game, a performance that felt almost supernatural. He was pale, dehydrated, barely able to stand straight during timeouts. But as soon as the ball was in play, his body seemed to forget it was sick. He hit shot after shot, grabbed rebounds, fought through every possession like it was his last. By the end, he collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms, barely conscious, but victorious. Most players wouldn't even step on the court in that condition. Jordan dropped 38. And then, the moment that sealed everything forever. The last shot in 1998. Down 1, on the road. Seconds ticking away. Jordan stole the ball from Malone, brought it up slowly, almost calmly, as if he had all the time in the world. A single crossover froze Brian Russell. One smooth motion later, the ball floated through the air, and the stadium went silent. Swish, championship, legacy complete. These weren't lucky shots. They were proof that Jordan didn't just handle pressure, he hunted it. Section 6. The relentless grind. behind the greatness. For all the highlights, all the dunks, all the clutch shots, there was something behind the scenes that people didn't see, something far more frightening. Jordan didn't just rely on talent. He manufactured greatness through a level of work ethic that bordered on obsession. Teammates still talk about it like a secret they weren't prepared for. He'd show up hours before practice, already covered in sweat, already running through footwork patterns no one else even thought about. Not fancy moves, just pure fundamentals drilled until they were automatic. The fadeaway wasn't an accident. He practiced it from every angle, every distance, with every possible defender scenario imagined in his head. If a shot felt one off, he stayed until it felt perfect. And during the summer he filmed Space Jam, he built what players later called the Jordan Dome. Warner Brothers constructed a full basketball facility just so he could train while shooting the movie. After filming for 10 hours, he'd head straight into the dome, scrimmaging against the best players in the league he personally invited. These weren't a casual pickup games. They were battles full speed, ego-filled, high-level wars that pushed everyone to their limit. Young stars walked in thinking they'd impress him. Most walked out humbled. When he returned from baseball, analysts expected a slow adjustment. Instead, he came back with a brand new weapon, the post-up fadeaway. He spent his time away studying footwork from scratch, pivot angles, shoulder fakes, balance shifts. The result? A move so unstoppable it became the blueprint for an entire generation of scorers. Even teammates got caught in the wake of his intensity. They called it exhausting. They called it intimidating. But every single one of them agreed. That insane, unbreakable standard was the reason the Bulls became a dynasty. Jordan didn't hope for greatness. He engineered it. He built it brick by brick, rep by rep, hour by hour. Section 7. The comebacks that should have been impossible. Great players slow down with age. Their legs go first. Their explosiveness fades. Their confidence shifts from attack mode to survival mode. But Jordan didn't follow that script. Every time people thought his story was over, he came back and rewrote the ending twice. When he first retired in 1993, the league exhaled. Teams finally felt like they had a chance. But 15 months later, Jordan walked in with 2 words: I am back. No warm-up, no media build-up, just the facts that shook the entire NBA. He returned wearing number 45, rusty from baseball, still adjusting to the speed of the game. Yet in his 5th game back, at Madison Square Garden of all places, he dropped 55 points. It wasn't the hang time or the acrobatics that stunned people, it was the control, the footwork, the command. It looked like he had never left. But the second comeback was even stranger. In 2001, at age 38, he returned again, this time with the Wizards. Everyone expected a farewell tour, a gentle goodbye, something symbolic. What they got instead was a veteran who could still tear defenses apart with pure skill. He dropped 51 points at age 38, then 45 points the next night, playing back-to-back like it was nothing. Younger players walked onto the court thinking they would get the retired legend version of Jordan. They walked off wondering how a 40-year-old still had better footwork, better timing, and better instincts than half the league. And behind closed doors, it was even crazier. Stories came out about private scrimmages where Jordan cooked NBA-level players decades younger. They said he didn't even need speed, his IQ alone was enough to dismantle them. It wasn't nostalgia. It wasn't a legacy tour. It was proof that Jordan at 40 was still playing chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers. Section 8. Why his highlights hit harder today than ever before. Most legends fade with time. Their highlights start feeling slow, their moves look outdated, and younger fans convince themselves that the old era wasn't really that special. But with Jordan, the opposite has happened. The longer he has been retired, the more unstoppable he looks. Not because people are nostalgic, but because new eyes are seeing something that doesn't match any era, old or new. Modern fans, raised on super athletes, advanced training, and hyper-optimized basketball, stumble onto a Jordan clip and freeze. The footwork looks like it belongs in today's game. The mid-range mastery looks like a lost art finally explained. The vertical looks unreal even by today's standards. And the body control, that still doesn't make sense in 2025. But the real spark behind the renewed obsession is all the new footage that keeps surfacing. Private scrimmages, practice runs, hidden angles of plays people thought they'd already seen 1,000 times, clips of a 50-year-old Jordan dominating young players in quiet gyms. Even the way he walks into a room, calm, composed, almost regal, goes viral because of the energy he carries. And then there is the internet. Every debate, every argument, every comparison eventually circles back to him. A new star drops 40. Someone posts Jordan doing it effortlessly in 1992. A young player hits a wild circus layup. Someone replies with Jordan's double clutch reverse from 1988. Every modern highlight seems to have an MJ version, except cleaner, tougher, or more iconic. It's like time has become an amplifier for his legend. The game evolves, the players get better, but somehow Jordan's highlights don't age. They bend with the era instead of breaking. And that's why, even in a world of endless content, Jordan clips still stop people mid-scroll. Because they don't feel like old footage. They feel like glimpses of something timeless. The legend that never slows down. When you watch Michael Jordan's highlights, you're not just watching old basketball clips. You're rewatching a standard one that players still chase, fans still debate, and the world still studies. His moments didn't fade with time. They expanded. Every new angle, every rediscovered play, every story from a former opponent adds another layer to the myth. Jordan didn't just dominate a sport. He created a blueprint for greatness, one built on obsession, pressure, and a level of skill that still feels untouchable. And that's why his highlight reel, even today, feels alive. It doesn't matter how many years pass or how many stars rise. The moment the ball leaves his hand, the world remembers exactly why. He's still the one everyone compares themselves to. Because some legends slow down. But Jordan, his story only gets sharper.